I remember my first $500 cake where I quoted a person $500 and they were like, "Yeah, fine." And I was like, "Oh, did they say yes?" Like you're shocked. Like, "Oh my God." And then I was like, "Okay, if I can make $500, then I can make 1,000." And then the person was like, "Sure." And I was like, "Okay." See, heads out, like let's see. And so it really is a confidence thing. It's also a skill thing.
Today, we have the honor of hosting Tatiana Wingate, a professional cake baker. 7 years ago, we met in her house while I was picking up some cupcakes. And now she is the owner of a cake boutique and she teaches people how to decorate cakes professionally. So it is such a pleasure to have you here today, Tatiana. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Stephanie. I'm really happy to be here.
So, what inspired you to bake cakes?
So I actually just made a cake for my son, my young son at the time. It was his birthday coming up. We were planning a party, and I'm just like a DIY kind of person, just like crafty. I love like arts and crafts and making things. Um, so I was like, okay, well, I can make his cake myself. Like, that's no problem. And I just made a cake for him, and the guests that came to the party were like, "We made this cake." And, I was like, me. And so I've actually not stopped making cakes ever since. So I like to say I didn't choose cake, cake chose me.
That's crazy, Tatiana, because I've tried the same thing and it wasn't the same response. So what led so then what led to then afterwards, like saying, you know what, after the fact that you baked your first cake, obviously for your son's birthday, what then led you to continue?
So after like I started getting orders and the response was good and like my friends and family and like neighborhood started to like catch on and like these things that I was making, I was like, okay, maybe I can take this a little serious. So then I decided to go to culinary school so that I could like really learn and do this like more on a professional level.
Was that always the plan to go to culinary school?
No, so after, like I said, after making like doing the cakes and like getting a steady stream of customers, I was like, well, maybe this is something I could take like serious, and not just do it as like a side hustle. Because at the time I was like working full time, but I wasn't in the like food industry at the time. Um, so I just was like, okay, well, let's see where this goes. And so I knew I wanted a college education. I was coming out of high school and being a teenage mom. So it was kind of like, what can I do that allows me to continue to work, pursue my education, and go to work? So that allowed me to work, continue to run my business, and pursue an education all at the same time while being a mom. And so culinary school part time worked with my full-time work schedule, and my parents played a pivotal role in helping to, babysit for me so that I can go to work and go to school. So I always say like my village is very strong, and they definitely helped me pursue this career and get to where I am now. So I never want to say like I did this by myself because I absolutely didn't. Um, and so my family and my friends like really were behind me and they believed in me. Sometimes when I didn't believe in myself and they really allowed me to like make this happen.
Man, that's awesome. And I mean, when you actually went into culinary school, how was it? Like, was it what you expected?
It was definitely harder than I expected. But I feel like I can do hard things, right? I feel like women are really capable of doing hard things. We're not a stranger to that. Raising families and children is not easy. So I was like, you know what? I'm cool. I'm tough. I can get through this. But it was definitely challenging in the way that you have to really, really want it to make it through culinary school and make it in this industry in general, I think. It has to be something that you're really driven to do or you're passionate to do because it's not easy. There's a lot of long hours and late nights, depending on what part of the industry you're in. And so you miss out on a lot of things that normally, you would be able to do if you worked a traditional like 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. So you miss, family gatherings and important things that, you would normally be able to attend. So it has to definitely be something that you're passionate about, because there will be a portion of your life that you won't be available for.
When you were in the school, I mean, did you have to learn about everything about culinary? Like, was there like a concentration? I mean, like, did you concentrate in one specific area?
I have my degree is actually culinary arts, even though I do pastry, which is
Mhm.
always funny to tell people because they're like, "What?" But I was already making cakes and doing things pastry, so I wanted to know the culinary side, and so I decided to get a culinary degree and not a pastry degree, so I could know both, right? Um, and I have a lot of friends who are like culinary chefs, so it's always fun if they're like really, really busy and they need some help for me to be able to jump in and help them, because I actually am a culinary chef, right? So that's fun.
Interesting.
So I love doing that. I never want to be the head chef of the culinary thing, but I like coming in as just like the help for my friends. And they're like, cut up these potatoes or these things. And I like, I can just do it, knock it out. Um, but there's a lot of responsibility. Um, I've done it, and it's a lot of fun, but I really truly love just coming in and helping my friends. So yeah, I like to do that. And then with our classes and when we have parties here at the shop, then I offer food. So I make all the food
Oh,
for
you
the
do?
party.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, if you come to a party and you have some of the food, then I cook everything in house.
That's so that's so cool. You really have the many skills, man.
Yeah, so it
What
allows me
did
to
you
like flex my little culinary muscle.
I see, I see. What so then what with the pastry side of it, obviously, the what inspired you was making your son's cake and, already kinda having this business going. Um, were there things that you did to enhance those skills in the pastry side since you weren't focusing that on the school side?
Definitely. So because the business is strictly pastry, I was constantly working on it. So even when I was in culinary school, I had orders every weekend. So in between like working and going to school, like I was still like running a business and like making stuff. I don't even know how I survived, right? I like look back and I never slept. I don't know. But I was young, and when you're in your 20s, you're full of energy and you can just do anything, right? You feel invincible when you're young.
Yeah,
And so
I
I
feel that.
definitely took advantage of all that energy at that time. I don't know if like 36-year-old me could do all that now, but 20-year-old me was super fired up. Um
That's awesome.
So I was constantly working on my skills because I had orders every week. So I was always making stuff. And then out of culinary school, I started working in bakeries full time.
Mhm.
And
What
that is
what
when I really like doubled down and got the skills that I really wanted, because you can totally learn everything on your own. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go and get some like professional experience. And then so it was like being paid to learn, if that makes sense. Like it was my
No, yeah.
job and I was getting a paycheck, but I was there to learn. So it was almost like getting paid strictly to learn. Um
Wh where
and
was
so
that
that
place
was
that you were learning? What was your job? Where
so
was
I worked in two different bakeries. The first bakery I worked in was a kosher bakery, which is now the shop that I own. Was the first bakery that I ever worked in. So full circle kind of moment. My former boss, upon her retirement, sold me this space. So that's cool, right? So I always say, don't burn your bridges. You never know where they're gonna lead, right? And then after that, I worked in Isgro's Pastries. It's an Italian bakery here in the city. That is well over 100 years old. It's a staple. So I worked there for like 5 years, just kind of learning. Um, so yeah, I'm a sponge. Even now that I have my own space and like people consult with me, which I'm really, really excited always about. Like, you want to me? You're asking me? Um, because I'm a student still, right? I'm
Yeah.
still learning. So when people are like asking me stuff, I'm like, huh? Um, but yeah, I'm always willing to learn. Like, you have to be an open book. I think that's how you get really good. When you're always striving to get better and learn another skill that's going to add to your craft. I think those are the people who are the most successful. The ones that stay curious.
No, that I definitely agree with that. So wait, so you graduated, so then you graduated culinary school. What happened next afterwards?
Graduated culinary school, and then I started working in bakery. So I applied here. I applied
Okay.
for a couple places. Which, like, at our culinary school we had what was called the job board. So it was literally just like a place where different businesses would post openings for
Mhm.
the new culinary school students to come and work. And so I found this bakery on the job board, and I started working here. And I was working like full time in like behavioral health and like corporate. So that was like paying like the bills, and then I was like doing stuff on the side. So it was just kind of like finding little jobs to do in between.
Mhm.
So that's kind of what I did straight out of culinary school, just kind of working wherever I could to get experience.
So, I mean, you had multiple jobs at that point.
Yeah, yeah. Yes. That's why I was like, I never know. I didn't know. I didn't sleep a lot at the time. Like, it was just, I have a goal in mind and I really want to, but I do not advocate like for that whole like nonstop grinding, never sleeping, hustle culture thing.
Do you feel like that's what gave you the confidence though that you have now? Is that grind that you had
A hundred
or
percent, right? Because you know what you're capable. You know what you're capable of. Like, you got it out of the mud, right? But I would say for like your well being, working constantly like that is not the healthiest choice. Right? So I never want to be like, yes, never rest, work until you're dead almost. No. Right? No. We know that pursuing a career is going to take some hard work, but also get some sleep.
then what would you recommend then for somebody to gain that confidence that, obviously don't work till you die, basically what you're saying, but
No,
what
don't work
would
till
you
you die, but
recommend?
don't lay on the couch either, right? There's a balance. So you do have to get some skin in the game. You do have to put in the experts say it's like 10,000 hours to master a thing. So like, you do have to get that experience under your belt. And so I definitely won't say that it's not going to require hard work, because it absolutely is. The earlier you learn balance, I think the better,
Mhm.
right? Because chefs specifically have shorter lifespans because of how much work and how we don't take the best care of ourselves, right? While we're looking after everyone, making sure everybody's party and event and night is amazing, we're not looking after ourselves. So chefs specifically are at higher risk of a lot of things, including dying before 60, right? So I always say, like, you have to find some kind of balance. And so it's a beautiful industry, but you have to also be very mindful and check in with yourself all the time to make sure that you are well, because you can't take good care of anyone else if you're not taking care of yourself, right?
And so what do you do, I guess, to self-care basically to not, increase those chances?
That's a good question. So of course, like, it's easy to say take a day off, take a break, take a nap, right? But that's kind of difficult when you're young. If you have a family, you're hustling, you're trying to make money, you're trying to make your ends meet. It's tough to tell that person take a day off, and you're like, I have bills. Um, but it is important to try to take some time for yourself. And so if that's like getting a hobby or watching a favorite show, or you don't if you can't afford to take an entire day, maybe a couple hours in a day, just resting, because again, we have to take care of ourselves before we can take care of anyone else. If you work yourself to the point where you're sick or incapacitated, you can't then provide for your family, right? Because a lot of the jobs in this industry don't have benefits, right? So you can't just be home and collect, PTO or, get everything covered. A lot of these jobs, if you're not at work, you're not getting paid. So it's important to take care of yourself, even if it's just a few hours, a quick nap, whatever you can do in order to make sure that you're good.
Man, it's interesting to see the other side of things for sure, because all we see as the consumer
You
is
just go
the
to your favorite restaurant, eat.
Mhm. Just see the beauty of it all and and what it tastes good, and that's it. You're like, "Oh, this is good." What would you say then, from all your experiences, has been that aha moment for you? Or that maybe it was a hard learned lesson, or just a lesson in general that you still keep to till today?
Okay, that's a good question. I would say get into this, especially when it comes to like going out, taking the risk of owning a business, because
Mhm.
that's a lot of people's desire, and it's an amazing opportunity, right? I'm not gonna lie there, but what I will say is get into it for the right reason. Don't get
Mm.
into it to, I'm gonna take care of everybody, once I'm making enough money, or you know what I mean? Like, don't if you do not have the desire to run a business and take every risk and put everything that you have on the line, I would not suggest it. I would just be careful. So, there are ways to be in this industry and not take on the full risk of owning a business. You can be a head chef of someone else's establishment, There's lots
Mm.
of ways to earn well in this industry without the full risk of owning a business. And so, um, I totally advocate for people who want to be in business to get into business for themselves, but it's something that you have to want and something that you're willing to sacrifice a lot for.
Since did you work for yourself, how do you stay motivated? How do you still are able to stay in the capacity of being creative? Because at the end of the day, you're still having to be constantly creative, you know?
How do I stay motivated? Because these bills have to be paid. Um, that'll motivate you, right? Um, And honestly, so that, that's like serious, but I'm joking also. But also like how excited everybody is to either get a cake or come and take a class or come to the parties. Everyone's having such a good time and you want to be a part of that. I love that. I love doing an engagement cake and then a wedding cake and then a gender reveal and then a baby shower cake and then the baby's first birthday. Like you've been with these people for years at this point. Like I start getting invited to the events because like now I'm a part of their family. So they're like, "Oh no, I know you're staying. I know you're going to get a plate." You can't really put a price tag on that. I love that. Because I'm just making a cake, but oftentimes when you get a cake, it's for like the biggest, happiest moments of your life, and I love being able to share that with so many different families.
That's so true. I'm like, "Oh, that's so beautiful because it's so true." Like, you
I
become
love
part of the
it.
family. And what about as far as I mean, me, I love cakes, love pastries. So now I want to know, you know, as far as the flavors go, like how do you get
Mhm.
inspired to try a new flavor, or put in new, I don't know, new fillings in the cake, or how does
Right.
the creative process?
Um,
Show me the creative. Yeah, I want to know your creative process behind it.
so I would say one that's kind of where like having that culinary knowledge comes in because sometimes I integrate like savory things that are mostly associated with savory food into sweet because we know sweet and savory goes together very well. Um, and so I think having like a vast culinary knowledge helps with that. And
Hmm.
then just like being a kid, like I grew up in the 90s, right? And so we got so many weird combinations. Like if you can remember that time, like we had green and purple ketchup and like it was just it was just a creative, just cool place, Dunkaroos and like fun dip.
Yeah,
Like it was just a lot of fun.
yeah.
And so I really am just a 90s kid, just like trying things. I don't always know if a thing is gonna work or if the audience or my customer base is going to receive it the way I do or be excited about it like I am. And I'm okay with that. If they don't love it, if they're like, you know what? I love your stuff, but this one is not it. I'm okay with that. It's okay. I'm literally just a kid in a candy store, right? Just making up stuff. Sometimes I'm just making it up. I wonder if you put this and this together, what'll happen, right? You remember like being a kid and making potions in the bathtub? That's all it is. That's all it is.
Wait, so who's your taste tester? Like, who do you have, like, a committee? Like
Family, my
uh-huh.
family. I will have sometimes when I'm open, I'll have the customers like I'll have samples of things like, listen, I'm working on this. You taste it? Let me know what you think. And just kind of, when they walk in, I'm like, are you interested in trying this? So like right now we're doing ice cream sandwiches with our cookies and I'm excited about them, but I want to make sure everybody else is. And so I have samples. So when people come in, I'm like, you want to try an ice cream sandwich? And they're like, sure, so sometimes I just ask the clients themselves to, let me know, give their honest opinion. And if you don't like it, that's okay. I want your honest opinion. You don't want to just have people tell you everything's perfect because it's not, right? But you definitely have to be willing to hear that because that's going to make you better, right? If I could give like a teaching moment out of that. Negative feedback is a positive thing. Okay. You go back to the drawing board and try again.
Has there been any customer where you were like, "I don't ever wanna work for them again?" Like, have you ever had a really bad customer where you had such a,
Yeah.
you know, feedback where
Yes.
you're like, "Yeah, really?"
Yes. I've had customers where like you never the customer their experience with me was so bad, you're like, I'm never working with this person again. I'm blocking you. When I see your email, I'm gonna ignore it. Or I'm going to be busy. Hi, we're booked. I'm sorry. It happens, right? But that's one of the other beauties of being your own boss, right? I do not have to work with every client.
Mhm.
Even like owning a storefront, I've never had to use it. Thank God. In 4 years, I've never had to put anybody out. But you can refuse service to anybody as a business owner. And I'm so glad that I've never had to do that because I don't want to have to do that. But you can, right? But when a person, you're like, you know what, you were difficult before. I'm not doing this again. No. Save your sanity.
So exactly. And then what inspired you then to start teaching people how to decorate cakes? Like, where did that come about?
Um, that is funny because I never wanted to teach, and when I was in culinary school, I was asked like, "Would you ever teach?" And I was like, "No, that's insane." I was not interested. I was not interested at all. So it's so funny that now, I'm teaching all the time. But I started out with just teaching kids because I love kids, right? I love the babies. And so I wanted to do like an academy to teach children that they can embark on the journey of entrepreneurship long before they became adults. And so it was just a way to empower my own community, and get more entrepreneurs, get more business owners, get more kids excited about different options, especially when you're working in the city, in the inner city with public school kids, um, who may not get a career day or whatever, where people are coming in and going, this is what I do. And they learn, oh, that's an option. You know what I mean? And so I started out doing this, what I call the kids cakepreneurship course. And I was just teaching kids, how to bake and make different things and then how to sell them. And so then we would set up like a fake, like bake sale with money, and I would teach them how to buy their products to make them, and then how to try to flip that for a profit to make money back. And so it was like a lesson in real time to see how business works.
That's so
So I
cool.
kinda started with that, with the kids, and then the adults were like, "Hold on, we wanna know too." We wanna know too, like, the concepts are the same, right? It's just a difference between monopoly money and real money. That's literally the only difference. So then I started teaching adults, and I would rent spaces around the city and teach. And then in 2021, we got our own space. So since then, we've been here, in our space doing it.
Are you still doing the kids academy?
I am. So we're actually going to open up and get a new batch of kids in next month. So we're excited about that. Yeah.
That's great. Talking about kind of like money and everything. Realistically speaking, like how much can someone expect to make starting off? You've said that this is not about the money. This has not, but what would you say what's
Like a
the estimate?
realistic number.
Yeah,
You're like
realistic.
at home and you just want to make some money on the side.
Mhm.
I think so once you like get up and rolling in your marketing, because that's super important, right? You can have a thing, but if nobody knows you're there to come and buy it, then that's an issue. But I would say for sure starting out a couple $100 a week if you're just looking to pad your income. Because
Mhm.
a lot of people are happy at their job, right? We're not necessarily looking to get rid of the full-time job. You may just want to supplement your income. And then that, I mean, for the average American, a couple extra $100 a week is huge, right? That
Mhm.
that could do so many things. It could be gas in your car, it could be groceries in the house, it could be your health insurance payment, whatever it is, you know? So yeah, I would definitely say a couple $100 a week starting out. If you're marketing, if you're taking good pictures, if you're posting, this is what I have, maybe getting involved, depending on where you live in like local markets or pop-ups or stuff like that is a way that you can, start to get your products out there. But social media is a huge, huge avenue for
Mhm.
marketing, and it
Yeah.
doesn't cost you anything. Doesn't cost you anything. Just turn on your phone and show people what you have. There is someone interested in what, like, we all think, oh, there's so many cake people out there already. There's so many, cookie people or cupcake people. There's no such thing as like an oversaturated market, really. There is space. Someone wants what you have. I would definitely say that. Don't think, oh well, yeah, I'm in we're in Philadelphia. Like Philadelphia is full of people that make dessert.
Right, and I still found you, and I was like, "I wanna
Yeah,
know her."
like it's a huge place. Um, so yeah, there's room for everybody. I would say, just get out Facebook groups and different, if you're get your coworkers, start selling it to them.
What's the most that someone can make? Like, what's the most expensive cake you've ever made?
What's the most expensive cake that I've ever made? I've made a four-figure cake, right?
A
So I'm working on a
four-figure
five.
cake?
Yeah, I'm working on five figures now because like I used to set these different goals for myself, and so I remember
Wait,
the first
wait.
time I was like,
What kinda cake is this? I wanna know,
"Well,
wait.
these are wedding cakes." Wedding cakes. I mean, you know, though that's when people don't really, that's when they save up for those events, where some of the couples they don't have a budget and they want something absolutely over the top, and I'm here to give it to them. Um, but yeah, I remember like the first time I was like, I can't wait to make a cake that's $500. And I remember my first $500 cake where I quoted a person $500 and they were like, yeah, fine. And I was like, oh, did they say yes? Like you're shocked. Like, oh my God. And then I was like, okay, if I can make $500, then I can make 1,000. And then a person was like, sure. And I was like, okay, 1,500, 2,000, like, let's see. Um, and so it really is a confidence thing. It's also a skill thing, right? Because if someone pays
Oh,
you $2,000 for a cake, they want you to deliver a $2,000 cake. They don't want you to deliver a $200 cake, okay? But that is important, okay? We can make as much money as we would like on these cakes, but we have to deliver that quality. We have to match the price with the quality. That's super important. Let's not skip over that, okay? Let's make sure we are giving people their money's worth when they start paying us the
amen.
big bucks, okay? That's
Amen to
important.
that. Wait, how long does those cakes typically take? Like, how long does it take for you to make a cake like that?
16, 24, like man hours. Um, and so I would say like a cake that size would be like 24 or more man hours. So you're thinking mixing, baking, cooling, stacking, cooling again, making all the decorations. Yeah. These are days worth of work.
I mean, what about your hands? Like, I just type, my hands cramp. Like, how do you I don't know. How do you take
So
care of your hands?
that's a great question. In 2012, I had carpal tunnel surgery on both hands.
Mm.
From doing cakes, okay? So, since the surgery, I really don't have much problems. Before the surgery, I was in a lot of pain. Now I'm not. Hopefully, I can help people avoid having to get the surgery. So take care of
Mm.
your hands. Similarly to people who braid hair, ice baths, it could be uncomfortable. It's very, very good for your muscles and your ligaments, like just soaking your hands in ice water. Even if you want to put some Epsom salt in there, making sure you're doing like different exercises. You could get like stress balls and stuff like that. Rest is super important. You have to rest. And sometimes the hands can't be doing anything, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes they gotta just be resting. So those things are important.
Well, okay. So we're gonna now I want to know what has been I know we talked about some hard lessons learned, but what has been your best moment, some of like your like, top highlight of, during your whole experience and what's been the lowest like memory, I guess. What's your high and lows? Yeah. What's the highest
So
that
I have
makes
a lot of
you proud?
highs. This business has afforded a lot of opportunity. So I was like able to put myself through college. I'm now putting my son through college. Um, I've, you know, gotten my own house. Like if basic things like that are important, right? Especially now. I've gotten cars, not like super luxurious, but it has definitely afforded me to have like a lifestyle where I can kind of take care of myself, and that's super important, right? So that's a high, but I would say all the people I've met, I've had some crazy opportunities. If it was like going to a wedding that's on a farm and getting to ride the horses before I leave the the wedding, right? That's cool, right? And that specific time I was able to take my son because he helps a lot, right? So he would help deliver and then they're like, "Oh yeah, you can pet the horses, you can interact, you can do this with the horses before you leave." So things like that, you know, being in the inner city may not be an opportunity or something that happens. Working with different celebrities and like major companies have been some really cool opportunities, meeting some really cool people. Um, I would say lows I would say while you're on a journey to do better for yourself in whatever capacity that may be, um, you may lose people that you love. They may no longer be able to relate to you for whatever reason or they may have their own things that they're fighting. We don't know why, but in the pursuit of better, people fall off, right? You may want to take them with you, you may try, right? But some people are not going to cross that finish line with you, and that is one of the lows because it could be people that you grew up with, your whole life, that you thought you would have for your whole life, and they don't end up finishing the journey with you, and that can be tough, right? Because you can feel really isolated and really alone sometimes when you're trying to do something, especially like and if you're like first generation, you're the first person in your family to go to college, start a business, make $1 million. Like it's tough being in that spot, being that first person, because there's nobody around you that can relate to that. We can support you, we can be excited for you, but you can't turn to your sibling or your best friend and be like, "This is the challenge that I'm having," and they completely understand, right? So that can feel very isolating. And can make you feel really low because it's like, well, what am I doing this for? If I'm not going to end up with any of my friends or the people that I love or the people I thought I was going to be able to share this with, what is it all for?
It's so real. That's beautiful. That really is. And what would you be then? What would as an end of advice, what would be your biggest advice to those that want to pursue? to be a baker?
I would say don't let people tell you that you can't. If you come up with a concept that people don't understand, that doesn't mean that it's not a good concept. It doesn't mean that the recipe is not good. It doesn't mean, it just can mean that people have never experienced that before. But that doesn't mean it's bad. When you decide that you want to do this and it's going to cause you to work hours that your your people don't work and they don't understand having to work 16 hours a day and never be around, and then they kind of don't want to hang out with you anymore because you're never available, like it's worth it, right? You'll find your people who get it. That's a big thing. I want people to know. You'll find your people that get it. It may not be the original group, but they're out there. I would say that if you don't look like the what people's idea of a professional chef is, that's okay too, right? Because as a Black woman, we are still a minority in the kitchen. That doesn't mean that you don't belong there, you know? Um, I would say it's gonna cause you to have some thicker skin. Um, but it doesn't mean that you don't belong there. We do belong there. We do deserve to take up space. Women of all colors deserve to be in the kitchen. People of color deserve to be in the kitchen. Black people, specifically Latinos, we deserve to be in the kitchen, you know? And so sometimes people are going to kind of make it difficult for you, and you just kind of got to fight back. If you're a badass, show people that you're a badass, that you deserve to be in that space. Don't be afraid to try a new thing. It's scary, but it's worth it. I would say that.
What's your next big step?
I would like to expand my classroom. So we're only able to have like 16 people. We're working on an expansion in the building currently to allow like 20 students, but that's our max. We don't have a big facility. So I think my next thing will be expanding the classroom because I would like to continue to try to groom the next generation. I'm excited to continue to still be in the industry, but also help um, to educate my community and those who want to be in this space.
Great. Tatiana, it has been such a pleasure to have you and just
Thank
hearing
you
your
so
story.
much.
How can people reach out to you? Please share where you're located so people can come and see you,
Absolutely.
share your social media handles, all of it.
Okay. So we are Sprinkled Sweetness Custom Cake Creations. We are located on 5th Street in between Lombard and South. So our address is 510 South 5th Street in the Queens Village section of the city. Our Instagram is at SS Dessert Co. Our so, what is it? TikTok is Sprinkled Sweetness, just written out. Our Facebook is Sprinkled Sweetness LLC. And so we have classes all year round, different events if you guys want to come and party with us.
Thanks for clocking in with us. If you enjoyed the content, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you got a career you'd like to see, message us on Instagram. We're always listening. Till next time, it's time to clock out.